Well, good evening, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great day. I'm actually here at the Man Cave and catching a little bit of what's going on. The Cowboys have signed a cornerback. Thank goodness we got a new cornerback in the house, and he's been a guy who has been out of the league for a couple of years. So if you want to know more about that, about Michael, I can't even pronounce his last name. Former Denver Bronco, drafted in the third round in 2020. But right now we've got Brian Schottenheimer. You know, I was one of the first ones to say that I really like Brian Schottenheimer and think that he's going to do some really good things. But now, with the Cowboys having the worst, and I mean the worst, rated team play in the two preseason games, we stink. We smell like some bullshit right now. And some people are beginning to kind of say some of the shine is kind of off on Brian Schottenheimer, that some of the things that we heard him say and reiterate about the team haven't actually come to fruition, where we hear, you know, that there's going to be accountability, you know, we're not going to make penalties, we're going to be physical, you know, no mottos, just physicality. And we're not seeing that translate, at least in the early preseason games. Now, maybe the team, and I'm hoping the team is playing possum and literally just making people think that they're like a scapegoat and that, you know, there's nothing to worry about with this team. It's going to be, you know, a pushover. Brian Schottenheimer, we got his press conference, and he's talking about what went wrong and, about what went wrong and what went right in the game this past weekend. Let's go to the tape here.
Okay, Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. What progression have you seen from your team from the first preseason game to what happened over the weekend?
I tell you what, I think when I looked at this game, we went back and we looked at it. The biggest thing I would say, we didn't control the ball. I mean, time of possession was a major problem. We shared that with them this morning. I mean, 40 minutes to 20 minutes.
That's not good.
Is a big difference. So then you have to dive in even deeper. You look at the third downs and fourth downs conversions. I think Baltimore converted 50%. They were like 9 of 18. We only converted 2 of 13.
Read between the lines. He's saying we sucked ass.
That is, it's not just that we stink on third down or fourth down. It's that, on defense, I think 4 of their 8 or 9 conversions were third and 2 or less. And we had 7 of our 13, if I'm remembering correctly, were 7 or more, and we only converted 1 of 8. So what do I mean by that? I mean by that is that
He's got the stats down.
Playing ahead of the sticks. We need to win first and second down. I know in the passing game on defense, we gave up some easy completions, and they kind of got ahead of the sticks on us a little bit, which put them in favorable third down situations. And then our inability to kind of run the football hurt our ability to kind of play ahead of the sticks. So we just, we forced too many third downs on offense long, and it's a big part of it. That's how you look at a number, and it's that lopsided. And so the other couple things I would say is the complementary football wasn't there. It needs to be there. I think we Brandon Aubrey kicked awesome in this game. All the kicks, he converted them all. His directional kicks on the kickoff were great. Shoot, the very first play of the game, he pins them back. It's a touchback, because it lands in the landing zone, and defense goes 4 and out. They give up the deep cross, and then they get them to punt, and we take the ball, and then we end up making them punt again because we wanted to get a chance to see Crop return, and then we have a penalty. And then it just, when you look at the sudden change of events, like then, we get the safety, and then, I think, we get the turnover on defense. Defense did a great job creating 2 turnovers, and, our very first play out, we throw an interception. So the sudden change that we talked about, the operation was good in terms of the mechanics of how we want to handle it and the communication, but the execution wasn't really there. So I think the biggest thing that I would say, to answer your question, is the consistency wasn't there. And I talked to the guys about it this morning. I said, at the end of the day, when one of your main 4 pillars that you believe in is physicality, I thought the physical nature that we played with was not good enough. It was inconsistent. Does that mean that we weren't physical at all? No. means that there were some guys that were very physical. Princeton Fant was very, very physical. I thought James Houston was very physical. But as a football team as a whole, we weren't physical enough. And that's coaches and players and all of us together.
You feel you have enough time to kind of fix that before Philadelphia?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is going to be another great week of practice. You know, we got a couple fun days of practice, and there'll be padded practices in front of the fans and indoors and all that stuff. But, again, I think very, very clearly, you know, I said to the guys, we don't look at this at, oh, hey, look, this is just a preseason game. It doesn't matter. I've never said that. I would never say that. It does matter. Every time we get a chance to go out and compete, you compete to win. But at the end of the day, we are trying things, and we are not showing things, and we are in the evaluation business. We're trying to evaluate players doing scheme, simple scheme. But when we go to compete, we want to compete to win.
Can you give a Clarence Hill DLLS Cowboys?
Thank you for clarifying. I wasn't sure
Who
I was speaking to. I wasn't. Thank you for saying that.
I'm trying to follow Tad's rules.
Okay, that's good.
Can you give us an update on Jonathan Mingo? I know you had the MRI yesterday. How long was he out? What's the injury?
Yeah, again, I think, you know, we really have a few more tests that we have to run. We're not really sure yet. I don't think it's going to be terribly serious, but I think we got to get through a few more tests just to make sure. But wow, what a great catch. It was so great to see him, you know, Clarence step up and make that big play down the boundary on 3rd and long. That was one of the 3rd downs that we did convert. But we need to do a little bit more testing to figure that out.
And I know it's not just the preseason, but also the starters aren't playing. You know, you don't have Dak out there and some of the frontline guys, but it's still a reflection of what you've done. And how do you balance how you prepare the team again? How do you balance not being physical enough and not running the ball with pillars that you wanted to do and you've talked about doing, even though Javonte Williams and Dak and some of the guys aren't there?
Yeah. Well, I think you pointed out to the guys. You know, you pointed out to the guys and you say, look, I mean, Cooper Beebe played some snaps. Tyler Booker played some snaps. You know, we should have run the ball better in that game, and we didn't. And that falls on all of us. It falls on me as the play caller. It falls on the offensive staff. We did some things that were better. We challenged the guys last week to tackle better, and I thought we tackled really, really well. We called hamstring tackle. We talk about knocking guys back and creating a cup and running your feet through 3 yards of contact. We did that better. My big belief is whether you win, you lose, when you compete, you have to point out. So we do a thing, good, better, how, and the process never changes. Whether you win, whether you lose, the process doesn't change. And so today I stood up there and I talked about the things we did well, which there was a number of those things. Talked about the things that we need to do better. There was probably a few more of those. That we needed to get cleaned up, and then how we're going to do it. And what we said is we're going to have 2 days of very physical practices, and also at the same time, you know, we're going to do a little bit more 1st and 2nd down work, because I think really that's kind of where the game got away from us. You know, Clarence, when you look at it, was, you know, we got soft in the D gap in some of our run fits, you know, and then offense, again, the lack of completions and running the football effectively put us behind the sticks.
I think you want to do 2 days of physical practices, obviously in here on the turf. You've been outside. How does that being on the turf impact your plan of being physical? And I know the guys were older, but you had 2 major injuries come out when they came back from camp on turf the last couple of years. Yeah,
again, you're aware of it. It's part of the game. Obviously, you'd never want to think that way, but we have work to get done. We know that.
A lot of work.
We've pointed that out. Our players know that. And, again, if we were worried about injuries, you know, you could worry about that every day. And so, again, let's go have some competitive practices. Let's fly around a little bit. Let's get better and hopefully play better against Atlanta.
Brian Tudor with ESPN. Now that you guys are back here, has anything changed on Micah's status, if he'll practice or if he'll do more than what he did out in Oxnard?
Yeah, again, I don't expect there to be many changes. We'll see. Again, it was good to have all the guys back. You know, I think what we're excited about, Todd, is get back into the routine. I know I'm excited to be back here. A little bit more of a routine. I kind of know where everything is. It's comfortable, and you know, I think the biggest thing is just we've got a couple days to figure out this routine as we're getting back into it. We'll still be a little bit in training camp mode. Schedule's adjusted a little bit, you know, the next 2 days because of the night practices. But as far as Mike is concerned, I don't think there'll be many changes.
And then you talked about it's an evaluation period and the 7-iron stuff. If you don't take the driver out on the range, how do you know if you're going to hit the driver well, of course?
Well, you have
Take
to
the driver out
evaluate
on the
how you
range.
do in some of your practice rounds, and you look at the practices we've had against the defense, and I think
defense is
we've
giving
got
up a
all of the
boatload of
offseason
yardage.
program to look at, OTAs. You've got all of the training camp practices to look at, and again, it's a philosophy, and you can agree or disagree with it. I saw the Giants the other night, and they were running all kinds of different things, and that's great. Good for them. That's what they believe in. Dave's a hell of a coach, but that's their philosophy. Our philosophy is let's see these guys compete. Let's see these guys do simple better. And we haven't done it well enough, and that's okay. And I'll stand up here and own that. I've never said that, oh yeah, we're in a great spot, but I'm also not concerned. We're going through the process, and we're competing every day, and we've got a chance to do that a couple more times before we have to make some really difficult decisions.
Jeff Shotty with The Athletic. Do you have any update on Jaden Blue and if he'll be able to do anything this week?
Yeah, trending positively. Again, we'll see how he does today and tomorrow, but hopeful that he can get out there and play. But again, I'll get some more updates to see how they did this morning with some of the workouts and stuff that they were doing. But I'm optimistic and hopeful that he plays.
And then having 4 weeks in California and 2 preseason games now, when you look at defensive tackle, just what are your views on what you guys have in that position?
Yeah, again, I think, the one guy I want to speak about that played, I thought, really, really well in the game was Jay. You talk about, draft pick, UCLA. He's figuring out the attack front. He's a large man that played really, really well. Again, we're getting a good evaluation. I thought, Ernest Brown played really, really well. In general, I think that's a spot that we're always going to be mindful of. When you play simple fronts and teams know you're going to line up in the simple front, you're going to have to play much more disciplined in your fits. And I do think our run fits from the linebackers this game were better. And so I think that did help us hold up a little bit and build the wall, per se, against the run. But overall, I thought a couple young guys really stepped up in the defensive tackle room. And, of course, Osa and Solly and those guys aren't playing right now.
Nick Harris, 4-Star Telegram. We just got done talking to Tyler Guyton. I know there's no timeline, but how would you say he's progressed so far?
Doing great. I think he feels great. I think he's excited. I think he's confident about his ability to continue to make big strides. And whatever we are, 17 days or whatever from opening day, I think he's going to attack each day. And but I'm proud of him, because he's a young player dealing with something that there's different timetables that you think, okay, it might be this, it might be that, but he's beating every mark so far. So that's a great sign.
And then ahead of these decisions,
I'm going to go ahead and leave it right there. So we know that Joe Milton is going to be starting on Friday, not Will Greer. They're going to continue with the experiment. And I think that's a mistake because this is what we did with Trey Lance last year. And instead of getting anybody else any work, you're playing a guy who doesn't look like he's ready to be a third-string quarterback. I have no faith whatsoever. We better damn sure be sure that Dak Prescott stays upright. And the Cowboys may want to think about getting another offensive lineman to make sure that our left tackle situation is going to be okay. All right. I will catch you guys later. And don't forget, tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern, live stream. Peace out.